Now let's take a look at a pattern in the organizing data series called replace array with object. In this pattern, what we have here for the motivation is that we have an array in which different elements mean different things. Now, for example, we have this array of strings where the first value means something, the second value means something else. We might be able to discern what those values are, but the code really should be telling us this. There should be an object that tells us this. Now you might think this is obvious, and you don't see this a lot, but really we see this all over the place. This reminds me a lot of untyped data sets, data tables, and data rows, which we've used for years and in many legacy applications still use today, where we always have to do all sorts of type checking, null checking to make sure that these values are what we expect them to be, when all of that really should be handled internally on the object itself. And in fact, we still have some new constructs today where we do roughly the same thing, just in a more strongly typed manner. We might have something like this. It's more strongly typed, it has some more compiler enforcement, but the original problem is still there. We have these values on this object that don't really tell us what they mean. It's not really an object. At this point, it's just I would be comfortable calling this a strongly typed collection of elements, which is still, in some sense, just an array. And so what we're going to do here is start off by creating an object. We'll call this one performance. And the first thing we'll do is on that object, we'll put the same data that we have, which is, in this case, a public property. I know public properties are bad. I know that we could probably do this in one fell swoop, but let's keep our refactorings in small, discrete steps. We'll just call this data. It's an awful name, I know, but it's temporary. And now, what we can do here, create a new instance of this, and use the array that's on this object. At this point, we've completed one small, discrete step. We would compile and run all of our tests, make sure everything still works. Now we move on to the next discrete step, which is creating some strongly typed public properties for these data elements. Let's call the first one name. And internally, we're going to know that that is the first element in the array. So we just return data 0. And for set, it's just data 0 equals value. And now here, we use name. Then one by one, we'll continue with each additional property that we might have. Call this one wins. And here, we use the property wins. This would be another opportune time to recompile and run all of our automated tests and make sure we haven't broken anything. And now here, we can start refactoring this object in particular. There's one more refactoring that needs to happen for the public-facing interface, and that is to make this an integer, which we can do here. Since this is temporary, we're just going to make some assumptions that this always works. Might not. You have to throw in some error checking, but keep in mind that error checking is just going to be temporary. And now the compiler will tell us all the places where we're consuming that code. That also needs to be updated. And again, an opportune time to recompile and run all of our tests. Now we've finished changing, well, we're almost finished changing, sorry. Make this private, since nothing's using it anymore. Now we're finished changing the public-facing interface of this class. Consuming code no longer has to change. And we can internally refactor this class to complete the job, because this can be made a lot simpler. We don't need all of this type conversion. In fact, we'll just go ahead and do that. Recompile, run all of our tests, make sure nothing broke. Do the same thing here. Recompile, run all of our tests, make sure nothing broke. And now nothing is using this data array. We get rid of that. One final run of all the tests, and the refactoring is complete. And that's pretty much it for the replace array with object pattern. Thanks for watching.